Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Nerd Den here once again, and in today's video I'm going to be doing another Doctor Who Reddit leak. Yes, I'm going to be covering one of them because, it's kind of interesting just doing these because, a lot of them probably are just like fan fiction and stuff like that, but I do love covering them just because obviously it engages discussion and stuff like that. And there is a slight chance that they could actually be true. But today I'm going to be doing that. I've literally just been streaming for an hour as well at the time of this video being recorded, and it will be going live later that day. So I would have had technically 3 videos up in the same day. Wow, the old Nerd Den is back. He is on that grind. But I just thought, you know what, dive on it, have some fun, and let's get this covered on the channel and create a discussion, because that is my favourite part of making content, is that engaging with the YouTube/Doctor Who community. So with that being said, let's have a look at this Reddit post and see what is going on in the world of Doctor Who Reddit today. So the headline for this is, not terribly sure what to title this. Hi Whovians, just going to put in my 2 cents based on my involvement and understanding of the production, as well as reading between certain lines. Not enormously involved with the show, but I am a pretty huge fan of it. Particularly having enjoyed the Tom Baker years as a young lad on the PBS, and have gotten into it again when it came back with Russell, shortly after I started working for the BBC. Brackets, I must confess though, due to the strenuous production schedules as well as the certain behind the scenes issues I've heard over the years, I'm not really sure I'd want to be involved with it fully. I've not read the other posts on this subreddit all that thoroughly, therefore if I'm repeating what someone else has said, I must apologise. From memory, there's a decent amount of truth in some of them, but I thought I might as well get in on the fun. Anyway, here are the leaks. Let me go down. As I think pretty much every Whovian has speculated by this point, the so-called 3-year pact was more or less a cover for the BBC. There's been hell of a lot of problems with Chibnall's run on the show. Initially, Moffat wasn't going to do the 2017 series of the show, but when it became apparent that Chibnall would be too busy with Broadchurch, the BBC rehired Moffat with a pay increase too. I do remember actually hearing something about this. He originally wanted his final episode to be the 2015 Christmas special, The Husbands of River Song. So it does kind of line up there, and it wouldn't completely surprise me. Where were we? So they hired him. Capaldi was meant to be let go at that point too, as the BBC were interested in a fresh start with a new showrunner, as had been custom with the more modern series. Chibnall was originally set to be producing a series for the autumn of 2017, but when Broadchurch at ITV got delayed to spring 2017, it kind of became clear that the series was going to be postponed. The BBC were A-OK with this, as they believed Chibnall was going to revitalise the show. However, they started to get worried when he had to delay Series 11 from spring 2018 to autumn 2018. Initially, filming for Series 11 was set to begin immediately after the filming of the 2017 special. I'm not entirely sure what the reason was, but I'm pretty sure it was to do with the casting of the companions, as well as hiring certain big-name talent. Brackets, I think it might have been Bradley Walsh, but he was already contracted by that point. Possibly it might have been with Sharon D. Clarke, who played Ryan's grandmother, Grace. Also, probably worth mentioning that the BBC specifically wanted an actress in the role, so everyone on the internet who's blamed Chibnall for that one are wrong. It's the heads of drama and controllers of BBC One who were to do with that. Actually, I'm pretty sure that Olivia Colman was the actress initially offered the part, and she considered it for quite a while, which is why there was such a big gap between Capaldi's departure announcement and Jodie's reveal. Interesting. I wouldn't mind seeing Olivia Colman as the Doctor, to be fair. However, Colman eventually decided against it, a decision that's been pretty good for her career, frankly. Jodie was Chibnall's runner-up, although a few other actresses auditioned. I've seen the tapes and I can see why Chibnall picked her. Production ran pretty well for Series 11, but Chibnall frustrated the BBC execs a bit. Sorry, just had a drink before this. When he requested the postponement of Series 12 to early 2020, for broadcast that is. As you might guess, Chibnall doesn't like to be rushed, and due to the ratings hit of Series 11, particularly the opener, execs were pretty tolerant of him, because the ratings were huge. So they were tolerant of him at this point. I'm even sure that one of the higher-ups suggested Chibnall that he do a climate change episode or two because of Rose's success. A pretty ironic decision in the long run. Let me scroll down more then. So, eventually Series 12 turned up, but the higher-ups were a bit surprised to realise that Revolution of the Daleks was to be a New Year's special for the following year. Originally, the plan was for a New Year's special followed by a 10-episode series, rather than the opposite. However, I'll say it again, Chibnall hates being rushed, and it ended up being a I don't even know how you say that decision for the BBC, given the COVID situation. At this point, the series has been doing pretty well, but after the ratings declined for Series 12, execs were getting a bit worried, as well as a couple of production difficulties happening during the filming of the finale. In fact, the plans for a Torchwood revival, as suggested by the return of John Barrowman in an episode or two, were cancelled after what was seen as a disappointment by the BBC at large. The BBC took issue with Orphan 55 and some, although not all, the political commentary due to some of the audience research finding that this to be one of the major criticisms, as well as the handling of certain themes. COVID didn't really help Chibnall's situation. Initially, the BBC wanted Series 13 to air April to June this year, deciding to tolerate Chibnall's delays. Obviously, this didn't happen due to COVID. And then, when they were getting out of COVID, Chibnall decided to cut the episode count down to 8. The BBC were okay with this, understanding the restraints of COVID. However, they soon found out that Chibnall planned for 2 of these installments to be broadcast in 2022 rather than this year. Another bizarre thing about the series was that Barrowman was originally set to be a prominent feature in the series, but because, of course, due to COVID, this wasn't really possible and his role was replaced by the Jacob Anderson character. That does kind of line up. I mean, I did spot the similarities in the photos and stuff. Again, we haven't really seen him a lot in action, but there could be similarities. Chibnall always planned for a bigger series arc this year, but I think he expected another series after this. You see, his and Jodie's contract stated that they'd be in place for 5 years, 2018 to 2022, with all episodes they make being broadcast around that extension. Not so sure about Jodie. I think the BBC like the idea of a new Doctor every 3 seasons, but there's a chance she could have stayed if Chibnall stuck around. In the end, the BBC sort of gave him the boot. They weren't entirely happy with how he was running the programme, how he was handling the promotional aspect, that is a big one, how they'd been a pretty huge amount of problems behind the scenes. I don't think it best to go into the details in case of putting anyone out of work, but to put it one way, Bradley Walter was originally set to be sticking around for Series 13 until last minute. Not that I blame Chibnall, frankly. It was nobody's finest hour. But probably most of all, how Chibnall kept on disappointing the BBC with his delays. He's not exactly held a steady ship, although none of the showrunners have. The production on most of Moffat's series were hectic, particularly his third, but in spite of its runaway success, the problem of the show's first revived series has become legendary within the industry. And no, I'm not just referring to the presence of 2 notorious sex pests, a vain superstar, an incredibly and immature and perpetually horny man-child, and an irritable and aloof leading man. Oh, damn, that's a serious dig there, but okay. There's stories on set that would make your skin crawl, some of which I'm relatively sure have immediately leaked on the internet. Oh, sorry, they should have been leaked on the internet, but mostly have been ignored. Thankfully, when David turned up, he steadied the set. If you want to thank anyone for the continued success for Doctor Who after the first series, it should have been him or Stephen Moffat, whose passion for the show is immense. In spite of that, David could sometimes be melancholic, I don't know what that word is, and have a depressive presence on set, but when approached, he'd light up the room. Okay, very interesting there. About as bad as Moffat's era got, in all fairness, was there were a couple rows on set. Yes, Capaldi did have a couple of Malcolm Tucker moments, especially when a certain transphobe turned up on set. But Matt Smith could also be a diverse presence, as could Jenna Coleman, with their political opinions being ones that they'd rather have kept private. Before you ask, all I'll say is the kind of opinions Twitter would hate, not that I agree with them either. Neither of them were particularly known for being well reserved or well behaved on set. Quite the contrary, in fact, which never did bother me, but I know it bothered some. Anyways, Chibnall's out and so's Jodie. We already know that. As you all well know, I think, but who's replacing them? Well, I'm not sure that's 100% right of me to say, but I can tell you that it's going to be a double act this time round, with one of them being pretty familiar with the show and the other being less so. And as for the next Doctor, I think they'll probably go back to a male, but I wouldn't be shocked if they continued with an actress. I'm pretty sure the new showrunners aren't rightly certain yet. They've only been appointed recently, and there's a reason why Chibnall's run has been dragged out until the end of 2022. They want to get it right this time, and to be able to sustainably broadcast annually. With that in mind, I was pretty damn shocked to hear that Ollie Alexander's casting, it's not going to be him. At least I wouldn't expect so, mostly because of the showrunners have only just been appointed. The current plan is for a broadcast in 2024. As one might guess, this could mean no anniversary special. In spite of that, there have been rumours of possibly asking David Tennant and Russell T Davies back to be involved for a 60th special. It'll probably have more than one Doctor in it, but it'll be centred on Tennant's iteration. I mean, yeah, the BBC do love the 10th Doctor. He is their cash cow, so that would not surprise me. As for the regeneration itself, that's pretty interesting. We aren't going to see Jodie regenerate on screen. She's just going to be heading off into the sunset with an arm around her companion's shoulder or something like that. This is going to be deliberate. The BBC want a new Doctor to be completely fresh. They want to start completely fresh, like Eccleston did, hence the new generation remark. Don't fear though, it won't be a reboot, more like a brief intermission, with the film skipping the 5 minutes of exposition that explain what went on in between and why you've got some new people in the title sequence. My understanding is that the double act, as I'm going to call them, are planning on making the show a little bit more macabre and a little bit more experimental than recent years. Again, I'm really sorry with the pronunciation of these words. I've legit never heard of them before. I'm so bad. I'm so sorry. With less of reliance on the continuity of previous and more of psychological horror. So what, like Stranger Things, maybe? I don't know. We'll see how it goes, but I'm looking forward to it. And I suggest you be too, even if you are a fan of this era. Also, might as well add that BBC Wales will no longer be producing the show. Wow. Well, we certainly got a lot to talk about. Well, oh god, there's certainly a lot to talk about there. So, one of the big takeaways is that Doctor Who has had a lot of production issues over the years, not just with Chibnall's era, we'll get onto that in a second, but we did know that the first series had its own fair share of production issues. I am making a little documentary on that, but obviously Moffat's era wasn't exactly perfect either, and we do know that Chibnall, there have been signs that Chibnall has been causing issues as well. Not maybe directly himself, but him and the BBC haven't necessarily been getting on. And I do think, and a lot of people have shared this opinion, that when it was announced he was leaving, that for only writing for one Doctor, it's kind of like, oh, okay. And Jodie did previously say that she wanted to stay on for a very long time, so either that was all an act, or the BBC have simply just kicked them both out. That wouldn't completely surprise me. It might be something that will emerge later on. And yeah, like I remember there was those Chaos and Cardiff rumours a couple of years ago. They got downplayed. I don't 100% agree that they were true, but I do think there has been some confrontations behind the scenes with Doctor Who. It generally wouldn't surprise me, but it looks like they have been given the push to go out, and I think the BBC have forcefully gone for a reboot of sorts for the show. But yeah, a few things I've noticed as well with recent leaks, that people are set on this thing where we are going to be getting multiple showrunners, and I do think that could work now. The more I'm hearing about it, again, I don't want to get too hyped up into it because this is just something that's posted on Reddit, so it could be complete BS, but we'll just have to see what happens. But yeah, One more final thing as well. I would like to say regarding the regeneration. That would be a very interesting way to do it. The way it's described there is that we are going to be getting something similar to Survival, that was the last classic series story where the 7th Doctor and Ace went off into the sunset. That is kind of what's being described there. Now, if the BBC do that again, it'll be very interesting for them not to show Jodie's regeneration. Like, you wouldn't even get an open-ended... You wouldn't even see the regeneration process starting. I remember I was just having a debate on the live stream that I did earlier, and we're like, okay, how's this going to happen? Is it going to be hinted at in Series 13 or whatever? We don't know, but I think the BBC are trying their hardest to reinvent the show, and I think this would be the perfect opportunity to do so. It'll be very interesting to see them not actually do a regeneration scene. It might end up actually happening later down the line with Paul McGann, like Paul McGann had a regeneration scene years later. That could happen with Jodie. We'll just have to see what happens. But yeah, I am going to wrap up this video here. It's been a bit of a wild one. Definitely a leak or whatever. Someone posted on Reddit that I didn't expect to go into too depth with the production issues, but a lot of them are kind of known anyway. Moffat was meant to be leaving in 2015. Then obviously, you know, things changed and he was rehired. It's well known. I think, well, Capaldi probably would have been the same as well. I remember he was humming and hawing if he was going to stay on for Chibnall's Doctor Who. I think he was asked at one point, but oh well. Anyway, I'll see you all next time. Thank you very much for tuning in to today's video. Be sure to subscribe as we are on our way to 2,000 subscribers now. And yeah, that would mean a lot to me if we could reach that by the end of the year. But yeah, I'll see you all on my next video. Leave a like rating, leave a comment on what you thought of this leak, and I'll see you all on my next video. Goodbye for now.